Good evening, CAM followers. I'm Evie. I'm going to be the host for this evening. And we've got the lovely Dr. Cecilia Villaverde with us this evening, which we're very lucky. We are going to be discussing overweight prevention strategies, which I know for a lot of the veterinary industry and also owners struggle with. It's a hard topic to talk about. And like me and Cecilia were talking about earlier, you just get bombarded with this, that, and everything. So hopefully we'll be able to help you just to unravel a few things and see if a bit of light through the very dark tunnel of diets. So I'm going to start this evening by just saying a big thank you to our sponsor, Big Barker Beds. Big Barker is an amazing company that we work alongside. They are one of the only dog bed companies that we know of that have actually put their beds through clinical trials through the University of Pennsylvania. Being able to prove that their beds actually play a part in looking after dogs with orthopedic diseases, such as osteoarthritis, and showing that sleep actually has a massive part to play in recovery and aiding pain relief. So thank you very much for your continued support. We're very grateful. So I am going to hand over to Cecilia to introduce herself, and then we'll get talking about the subject for this evening.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Evie and Cam, for inviting me to speak. And of course, I would like to thank the sponsors as well. We definitely need them for all this work that you guys do. You're doing a lot of work here. Okay, my name is Cecilia Villaverde. I am from Barcelona. Originally, as you can tell probably from my accent. And I'm a veterinarian and I'm board certified in nutrition. And I did my residency training in the US in California. And I've been boarded for about 12 years now. And I currently live in Ireland and practice here as well. So I'm an independent nutritionist. So I do consults with clients in a couple of clinics here. And I also do work through veterinarians to help them with their nutrition questions. Mostly Ireland, but also UK and Spain. And then, I also do some talks and other type of consulting. But I work a lot from home or from planes, depending. But yeah, I do. Most of what I do is related to clinical nutrition, so nutrition for animals with disease. And a lot of what I do is related to, of course, obesity as the most common nutritional disorder that we see in dogs and cats.
Amazing. Busy lady.
Yeah. Too busy. Still a while to retire, so.
We'll get there. So earlier, me and Cecilia were talking about what we were going to discuss this evening, and I think the biggest thing that came up was that prevention, as with most diseases, prevention is definitely better than cure. We know that with OA, you're not going to cure it, so prevention, such as weight loss and preventing obesity, is a massive thing. So, Cecilia, what do you recommend to your clients for prevention of becoming overweight?
Yeah, so I usually have a chat a little bit about why prevention is easier.
Mm-hmm.
And like we know, like we always give the spiel, right? There's a lot of diseases that are related to obesity.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes obesity can be a predisposing factor or part of the cause, like osteoarthritis, like by altering the gait and by increasing the pressure on the joints, it can contribute to the disease, but it can also worsen clinical signs, right? Mm-hmm. Even if you don't, if you have a dog with osteoarthritis, if they lose weight, their quality of life will improve, even though the disease is not going to be stopped, right?
Yeah.
But the same for other diseases like respiratory disease, heart disease. Mm-hmm. A lot of those, being overweight just worsens your quality of life. Mm-hmm. And we do have very good evidence that in dogs that keeping them lean results in a longer lifespan, right? So you have all of those things to talk to my clients, right? Basically to convince them to try to prevent obesity from happening. But then I also talk about, like, the main reason I want to prevent is because treatment is a pain. Like, I don't know how many of you have tried yourselves to lose weight, or your pet to lose weight, or your patients to lose weight. Is honestly, as I always say, is very simple it's a very simple concept. You're getting more calories in than the calories that are going out, but it's extremely complicated in practice. There's a lot of factors that will affect the calories in and the calories out. There's a metabolic resistance of the body to weight loss. So when we start our treatment of obesity, the animal is going to drop their energy expenditure to fight this weight loss, which is perceived as a threat to life, right? There's no such protection for weight gain, but there is for weight loss, right? So this makes it really difficult because, you're restricting the food. The animals might show hunger. They might, wake you up at night, like breathing in your face, like my cat. and you still might not get the results that you want, because it's just really hard. These animals not only have this metabolic adaptation, but usually the animals that become overweight are already very efficient with their calories. As I always say, like, those are the ones that have survived the past, right? In the past, we have the feast and famine kind of situation. The ones that survived the famine were the ones that we reduced. So those were the ones with the great genes about getting the energy out of anything, even air at some point, I think. So there's a lot of, genetic predisposition at this point to be thrifty with your calories. So weight loss, we know. I know you've had Alex German here before, and probably has talked about the success of weight loss plans, which is not that great, and even longer, like 5 years after, the success is even lower. Like, a lot of the dogs will have regained their weight. So focusing on never having to deal with that, absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. So my recommendation, like, to the veterinary teams is usually from day one, like, since they're a puppy, everybody gets a feeding plan, and everybody gets a weight prevention plan. We know that growth, if they grow too fast, we know that that's associated with obesity later in life, even if they're not overweight as puppies. So from the beginning, like, when you get the first puppy visit, when they come to the vaccines, to the worming, to spay, neuter, all of those times during the growth of the animal, that's when we talk to them about that. And there are growth charts that actually Alex German helped develop. They're on the Waltham and the Real Canine websites, and those are, for me, are invaluable to plot. You can plot according to the weeks of age, you plot the weights, and that will really help you decide if they're growing too fast or they're growing too slow. So that would be your first thing. Like, all puppies get a growth chart, and all puppies are going to be plotted. So that's one, and also that's also fun. I like plotting weights.
Yeah, definitely. And it's nice. I think a lot of people enjoy things being visual. I know during our weight clinics, we use a lot of, like, body condition scoring charts, and by pointing on the chart, circling which one their dog is on day dot, they can see more. I think a lot of the problem with obesity is that owners don't actually realize their pets are overweight. I think I get a lot of people that come in, they're like, what do you mean? They're not fat. They're just big boned. They're just fluffy. Like.
No, it's true. And this is one of and we'll talk about what I want to discuss, the risk factors for obesity. I separate them into animal and owner related factors, or human, and it has happened to the best of us, that you don't recognize that your dog is not the size that it should be. There's a variety of reasons, including denial, but some of them are, we know that show dogs can sometimes be heavier than they should. So, when we see show dogs, we say, okay, my dog should look like that, right? So one of the main risk factors that has been identified in multiple studies is exactly that, like the client not realizing how the dog should look like.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that I recommend for prevention. So we'll get into the weeds of how to do a feeding plan, right? But basically, you start from the beginning since they're puppies, and you put them on your growth charts so they can see, rather than just what's the way that should be,
Yes.
right? And the other one is teaching. I always teach my humans how to do a body condition score, again from the beginning. And then, as you said, you have your charts. You can also have pictures of dogs in good body condition available in the clinic, which will really help people to see what the dog should look like. The WSAVA has a nutrition website where we have those charts available. There's also some videos to show people how to do body condition scoring. And they're not going to come to you every couple of weeks or every month, right? When we see them once a year tops. So part of the assessment, which is weighing them and doing a body condition score, the humans in the household have to do. So very important that we teach them how, because that they are the ones that are going to do it. Otherwise, when we catch them, it might be too late at that point. So everybody goes home with a body condition score chart, a link to that video, and we ask them to practice. And as you said, super important that they do it first and then you do it. And then if there's a discrepancy, then we can talk about that. Like, it's a good way to bring up the subject, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot with owners as well is that when they do get diagnosed with something, or even just telling them that they're overweight, they think, oh God, there's something extra I have to do to my routine. Like, it's easy to get home and chuck your dog a treat because that's what you always do, and go into the cupboard and just scoop out the food and chuck it in the bowl because everyone's busy. So I think owners sometimes do get a little bit intimidated by thinking that they need to do extra work. But really, like you said, by preventing them from becoming overweight from day dot, then it creates a lot less work than.
You just want people to have the habits that you want, and it's not one size fits all. There's very different types of people who own dogs, and not all of them require the same approach, for sure. But I always, when I'll do if I get a dog in my consult, I'll do my nutritional assessment, right? And we assess the dog, we assess the diet, and we assess the environment. And within that environment is basically we assess the humans. You'll do the environment. You'll do if they're indoor, outdoor, how's the feeding method and all of that. But I'll also assess my people there. So how many humans are in the household? Is there a possibility for sabotage? Is there a possibility for uncontrolled food being provided? Like, what kind of relationship the owners have with their dog? Are they treating or not? Most of us like to treat. I treat my cat. Some people are not treaters, so we're going to deal with them differently. So it's very important when you do your assessment that you take all of that into account. So then you customize your weight prevention. When you have, especially you were talking about like the routine, and it can be tricky, and when you have multiple people in the house, that multiplies, right? Everyone is busy, and then they have to coordinate. So I usually try to bring everyone in the family to those appointments, and that's mostly when they're already overweight and we need to get to work. But having one human being the main responsible of the food, I'll sometimes say, look, you are the one that's going to be measuring food in the morning, and then you have like a jar or spot where if grandma comes or a grandkid comes, you want to treat the dog, you grab it from there. Like, they can have a kibble or some treats that you've already measured. So try to say, help them as it shouldn't be like a chore or an additional extra work. You just start from the beginning with the good routines.
So for people, because I get a lot of clients that do come in for weight clinics, and a lot of them they're like, oh God, I'm trying really hard, but my husband just isn't listening, or my kids will drop food on the floor. And sometimes it isn't feasible for the whole family to come in and listen. So what advice would you give to those clients?
That's really tricky.
Sorry.
It really depends. Like, honestly, if the family is not on board, I sometimes say we might just need to deal with what we have, right? Maybe just keeping the weight as is, especially if you're on a weight clinic that you want them to go down.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just upgrade my goals to something more achievable.
Yeah.
Like if they don't gain any more, I might be happy. And just sometimes you just put a seed. Try to convince them to bring their significant other or whoever else is in the household. If the humans involved in feeding the dog are not on board, things are not going to happen. And if there's only one person, you might even create conflict between the humans. So sometimes it's just not meant to be. Sometimes it's we'll pause this, and it's not the best for your dog. I'm very honest about that. Like, it's definitely not the best. This is going to be a problem along the way, but I understand that you're not capable of doing what needs to be done right now. Sometimes they come back like a few months later because the dog now broke a cruciate. And they're maybe more ready. But you definitely need people to be ready. There's also a lot of new papers on like the human factor, right? Like how we can provide people with tools to support them, and not really I'm not referring to a scale or special food. I'm referring to how can we help them set up realistic goals? How can we help them meet those goals? Which, we all struggle with something, right? I don't know. We're talking about weight now, but there's a lot of things. Am I struggling with work? Am I struggling with your kids? I don't know. So focusing on supporting people, in my experience, one of the things that really helps is not to be judgmental. And I'm definitely not, like, I struggle. I've had overweight pets all my life. And, sometimes I adopt like that because it's fun. But I understand that it is challenging. It's challenging for everyone. So, there's some dogs that are just more prone to having this problem. And there's not a moral superiority to someone who keeps their dog always lean, because sometimes it's just easier.
Exactly. So when you talk about creating a plan, and Hannah's cat just came in. Talking about creating plans and with the owners, what sort of plan would you put in place?
Okay, so what I do first is my nutritional assessment, right? And usually follow the WSAVA guidelines, but I would assess the animal, the diet, and the environment. I will do a really good diet history, but that's for everything, right? What I want to get out of that is enough information to develop your customized feeding plan. And the feeding plan is always three things. What do I feed, how much, and how? And then you would do your follow-up. So that's four, maybe. You have your plan, and then you would follow it up. So when you do your assessment, that's when you're going to identify risk factors for nutritional problems. Like, for example, they're feeding just table scraps to the dog. That would be a red flag or risk factor for nutritional inadequacy, because there might not be all the nutrients that they need, for example. So when I always look at those risk factors specifically for weight management, right? And usually I separate them into animal or human risk factors. So if we focus on the animal, and we're mostly talking about dogs here, you would have several risk factors that you can identify really quickly. Like, one of them would be age, right? We know that overweight is a middle-aged disease. As I said, you need to focus on prevention from the beginning, but am I going to be more worried, at 2 years old or at 5 years old? Definitely the older, the more worrisome. Especially if you get, sometimes you get new clients that are already adults. You're going to be paying more attention if they're already on their middle age years. Probably one that's super important is breed, right?
Yeah.
We know that there are some breeds that are just more prone to being overweight than others. As I always say, like it's as easy to see an overweight greyhound than a thin Labrador, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I've been told of one. I've never seen an overweight greyhound. So if I have a greyhound, weight management is probably not going to be a priority because
No.
it's not something that happens with them. Right? It might, right? You always have to do your weight and BCS, but it's not. But if I get a Labrador, it's going to be my main discussion point.
Yes.
Especially after we spay or neuter them, like immediately the day after, we're going to drop, calories. So breed is going to be super important here. And there's many reasons why breed can be related to overweight. But in some part will relate to either because they like to eat a lot or because their energy expenditure is low.
Yes.
Right? And for example, the Labrador is a good example of both. Like we know that their appetite regulation is not as great as other breeds, and they definitely are hungrier. Yes. And it's harder to deal with a hungrier animal. Like again, like if my dog's not asking me for food, I'm not going to give it to them. But with Goldens, Labradors, it might be more like harder to not give in to the temptation.
A lot. Yeah.
And then the other thing, like the Labrador definitely has a higher fat percentage compared to, for example, a Greyhound. So their energy expenditure, for two same-sized dogs is going to be lower. On a different level, same happens, for example, with a Newfoundland and a Great Dane, right? Basically, the same-sized dog, the Great Dane easily can eat double the calories than the Newfoundland, just by virtue of their breed. Again, if I have a Newfoundland weight management, they're famously low. They're famously low in energy requirement. Right? So again, that would definitely affect how you do your weight prevention plan, what breed you have in front of you. That's mostly for the animal factor. Another animal factor will be your health status, right? And this would include OA as well. Right? When I have a dog that already has osteoarthritis, I know that they're going to be moving less. So their energy expenditure is going to decrease. So that's going to be, it's a vicious circle, right? Like they're going to be more prone to gaining the weight. So if I have an animal with a disease that I know is going to affect either my energy intake or expenditure, you have to put like super triple extra care. And OA is one example, but you would also have endocrinopathies that might affect appetite and also increase your body fat. Any surgery like a back surgery that's going to leave them on bed rest for a while. So all of those things are gonna from the animal, and the animals are things that are really hard to change, right? If I have a Newfoundland, I have a Newfoundland. They're not going to give it back and get a Great Dane, right? So you're not going to change the breed. You're not going to change the age. You might change the health status depending on the disease. And the other thing, you're not going to change if they're spayed or neutered. You can decide if you're going to spay or neuter them, but we know that the energy needs are going to be lower after the surgery, after we spay or neuter them. So that's one of the things, like the day after the surgery, I always say feed 30% less calories, right? And we'll sometimes change the diet and do other stuff, but what we want to do is, we know that that's probably the biggest risk factor related to the animal. And there's a lot of reasons why you might want to spay or neuter your dog, but definitely need to be aware that weight management is going to be harder.
No, it is difficult, and like I said earlier, it's a minefield for people. They get told one thing by professionals and then one thing from a different person, and then they see something on Facebook.
So we'll talk about how to do the feeding plan shortly, because it is a minefield. But for anything nutrition related, it's like I've become very zen about it all. But then I was on my road of getting an ulcer. But everyone knows everything. I think we all eat. So it kind of, I don't know. I have no idea why it's such. It's as I always say, it's like talking about religion or soccer. or football.
Yeah.
It's too emotional sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing that I looked at when I do my assessment, I identify these risk factors would be your human factors.
Yeah.
And those relate to diet themselves. Like the human is the one that decides the diet, and also they decide on the amounts and the feeding method. So we know that there are some diets that are very high in calories for some diseases, or some of the diets that are very popular now, like grain-free or stuff like that, might be pretty high fat and high in calories. So it's a wide range of calorie content on commercial products, even homemade. But commercial products, the calorie declaration in the label is not mandatory. So there's something that it's important, but we don't have easy access to. So that's something that we need to help our clients to decide. If their dog, if I have a Labrador middle-aged that lives in the couch, know, that's a lot of risk factors. Like I'm buying all the tickets to win the lottery in that case. Then diet choice and feeding method become like so important. And then that's part of I want to identify what they're doing now, so we can find something that might suit better, something that's going to be lower in calories, or we're going to switch. If they're free feeding, maybe we're going to go to meal feeding. Yeah, all of those things. But that's owner decision, right? And you need to figure out why are they buying that diet. There's a lot of, I don't know what's the word. There's a lot of factors that will influence a person deciding what diet to feed, right? Yeah. Can I buy it easily? Can I afford it? Do I like the ingredients? Does it fit with my lifestyle, my philosophies? So I always try to find something that's going to make everyone happy, right? I want the dog to have a complete and balanced diet that's not going to make them overweight. Yeah. I want me to be satisfied that this is going to be nutritious and safe, and I want the client to feel safe and comfortable feeding that diet. Yeah. Sometimes it's a tall order, sometimes it's easier. But the other things that are also human dependent would be your exercise or your activity level. Yes. But sometimes, I mean, better than me probably, sometimes that depends on the health status. Like when you have a dog with OA, your exercise is more limited. And then that might not be super changeable. Maybe physical therapy is an option. There's some things that can be done. And what you said at the beginning, like the human not realizing that the pet can become overweight. So I always teach them about body condition score. And that will be mostly it. There's some other research on how humans can be a problem when it relates to the weight of the dogs is related to maybe or humanizing our pets a bit too much. But I would say mostly it would be how we feed them and how we exercise them. That's going to be the highest effect, and also not really knowing what this should look like.
When you talk about strategies, what do you mean by that?
Like strategies for weight prevention?
As in strategies in how they're feeding. Would you suggest having set meal times for them throughout the day, like morning and evening, or 3 times a day? Or would you suggest using like slow feeders, or
those are all good ideas, and it will depend a little bit on the family dynamics too. But mostly, when you do the feeding plan, you would do what, how much, and how, right? For weight management, the critical one is how much. Right? We'll talk about how the diet and the feeding method affect, of course, but you just want the dog to get the calories that they should be getting. Again, very simple in concept, very complicated in practice, because the first question to ask is how much should they be getting? And we have the label on the package. We have formulas that we can use. They're all pretty crappy, right? They have a plus minus 50% error, which is bananas high. But that's like with people. You all have a person or a friend that's the same size as you, same lifestyle, same physical activity, but they can eat twice as much as you do. And that's just how it is. Like the variability is so high that a formula cannot really cover everyone. So first things that we need to decide on how much is it's gonna be probably wrong, right?
Yeah.
So we can start with what the package says. We can do a formula. I like doing the formula myself because then I can take into account those things that I was saying. No, it's a Labrador or a Greyhound. Is it spayed or neutered or not? Is it older or younger? Is it more active, less active? I think I can get a better handle of it, but still be a guess. So in any case, whatever we choose, we're going to be monitoring with the weight. And then once you decide on the amounts, then we need to discuss how to feed that. As you were saying, free feeding, it's a big no-no when you have animals with risk factors for obesity. Again, you have a very young, very active Greyhound that's intact. You probably can free feed him. Nothing will happen. But the more risk factors you get, the less ideal free feeding is. Again, this is biology. Every time I talk about this, someone says, I have a spayed and neutered, and they free feed and they're fine. So sure, the possibility is there, but self-regulation gets harder. You should buy some lottery tickets. Definitely was really lucky. But the more risk factors, the less ideal free feeding becomes. I also don't love free feeding because I think you can miss stuff. Like you can take a bit longer to figure out if the dog's not eating as they should. So I do think most animals can do well with meal feeding. Exceptions, lactating female, a thin, picky, sick dog, of course, feeding would be great. But anyway, when we want to prevent weight gain in animals that have risk factors, we need to portion control. We need to meal feed. So I would say routines are good overall. I have cats rather than dogs. I think cats is probably more important. But especially if we're not gonna be feeding as much as they would like to eat, there will be some hunger issues going on. So having some set routines is going to be important. And, separating when you eat from when they eat. Try to discourage begging. There's some clients that I send directly to the behaviorist, to be honest, especially if they already come with a lot of habits that are hard to remove because the dog has trained them very well. So a behaviorist help is invaluable in those situations where we want them to get into a better routine for everyone. And then it depends a little bit on how hungry the dog is and how the family deals. But for example, for my cat, when I was trying to get them to lose weight, using an automated feeder really helped because they would be frustrated at the feeder, not at me. For example, for some dogs that are so voracious, like a slow feeder can definitely help. I sometimes timed some dogs eating and I put them the meal and they eat it in 30 seconds. They don't even chew it. And then, it's 23 hours, 59 minutes and 30 seconds until if you feed them only once a day. So I do like at least twice a day, I would say, at least. Slow feeders for those voracious eaters can also help. And then, making it harder for them to get their food, like puzzles, can also be very interesting. Especially if you don't want them to be bored. So that would be, again, it will depend also on the budget of everyone and during the pandemic, everybody was home.
Exactly.
A different situation than maybe now that we're still in the pandemic, where people are leaving the house more. But thankfully there's a lot of tools now that you can buy. You can buy automated feeders, cheap activated feeders. If you have an animal that requires more access to food than another, I would say there's a lot of options, thankfully, to get them to be a bit more entertained when they eat and try to eat a bit more slowly. The third thing you can do, we talked about how much. If you're going to use label information, I would say usually give you a range. So if you have an animal with risk factors, stick to the lower end of that range. If you're not going to do the formula, and then we'll weigh them every 2 weeks or so. At least recommend that they weigh them at home or they do body condition score at home. And then diet choice can also help out. That will be part of your plan of how much, how, and what. And there's a lot of options out there for what you're going to be feeding. of the commercial products out there, some of them are marketed for weight management. They
Yeah.
can be called light or
Yeah.
indoor or neutered or
Yeah.
stuff like that that might indicate a lower calorie
Mm.
content, but you still need to check.
Yeah.
Some brands are very different, like for example, Yukonuba IAMs. When they came out, in the 80s, they were famous because their energy density was so much higher than regular. So the light one from IAMs is probably the same calories as the normal one from HIITs or something like that, right? So it's all very relative. So even if it says some wording about weight management, just check. But some diets can be lower in calories than average, and that can be done by moderating the fat or by increasing the fiber, which provides bulk and no calories. For some animals, a wet food will be also more filling.
Yeah.
But for some dogs, especially large dogs, it can be cost prohibitive.
Yes.
But some people add water to their kibble, to their dry food, which is perfectly fine in practice, and it can help them keep them fuller.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's slower as well.
Yeah.
So usually my recommendation for diet is that you choose a diet from a company that has a good reputation and that invests in research and all of that. And then within those brands, we have lots of choices. And then, you can stick with those that talk about a little bit about weight management.
Yeah.
And because, in some cases, if you're giving, let's say, 200 grams to your dog and we're going to spay them and we want to drop those calories by 20-30%, sometimes we can find a diet that's already 20-30% lower in kilocalories per kilo. So we would give the same exact grams. We would give also 200 grams, but the calories will be lower. So maybe the dog won't feel so hungry and the owners won't feel so mean. You will just decrease. So there's a lot of diets that can make your life easier in that regard. But you might have to call the company or check on the website for the actual calorie content.
For the calories. I think that's a major thing. A lot of people come in and they're like, oh, my dog's 30 kilograms, and you do a body condition score and they're an 8 out of 9. And they're like, oh, well, I don't understand why it's not losing weight. I'm feeding it a light diet. And on the back of the packet, it says feeding it for a 30 kilogram dog. It's confusing. It's confusing unless
it's very confusing. Labels are not there to help you, so you should mostly ignore them. But it's true that you can gain weight or lose weight with any diet. Like the calories are what's really driving the energy balance. It's just some diets will make your life easier, both to gain it and to lose it. Let's say that. So definitely the diet alone is not magical. I wish if I had a diet that we eat and we just keep our weight, I would be retired. Living in a tropical island. So the amounts are going to be crucial in any case, right? And you're going to have to measure it out. And here is when I talk about kitchen gram scales being a much better tool than cups. Right. I know no one wants to stop using their cups because it's very convenient. And if you're on the prevention phase where your dog is not overweight yet, you might get away with it, especially if it's a large dog, because the larger the amounts, the smaller the error using a cup. However, when you're dealing with smaller dogs or they're inching up in their weight, the cup might not cut it. It's just we just tend to overfill it. So a kitchen gram scale can be really your friend, especially when you have tiny smaller pets.
I think by doing that, again, it's very visual for someone. I think a lot of my clients that use cups are like, well, it's only like 3 or 4 biscuits, and it panics them. Again, it's a human habit, isn't it? And they're like, their bowl's not bulging full. It scares them.
One of the things that I do, and seems very stupid, but it helps, and I did it for myself, is get a smaller bowl. Like it makes me feel less anxious and less like a mean person. And I don't know if it helps the pet, honestly, but it helps me. If you have a big bowl, you are gonna tend to fill it up. It's I don't know what's in us that makes us do that.
Yeah.
But I did do it with my cats. It definitely helped to
Maybe
get a
that's
smaller.
a very good point. Yeah. I can definitely see that helping. Yeah.
Yeah, people don't want to be mean. They don't want to feel,
No.
and I don't want to feel like I'm being mean
No.
to my pets. And feeding is such a good experience, right?
Yeah.
It's such a lovely bonding moment with your dog that anything that affects that is something that we resist.
Yeah.
For sure. Probably we should take a little bit out of the love of the feeding.
Yeah.
But we can still have a very satisfying feeding experience, which is, you need to get a smaller bowl.
Yeah.
Maybe get a more moderate calorie diet in some of those dogs that are at risk.
Yeah.
And definitely we need to talk about treating, I think.
Yeah. Going on to treats, obviously that is a massive thing for all of us. I know I give my dogs treats, I give my cats treats. They do something cute and I'm like, oh, here you go. What do you suggest for people that have an overweight dog at the moment, and they still want to give their dog their bedtime treat? Obviously, we don't want to take away all. If your dog does have a OA, you've probably just been given an exercise plan, so you can't take them on the lovely beach walk that they're used to. And now suddenly the vet's gone, well, you can't give them any treats because they're overweight. So all the nice things that you did with your dog, you're not allowed to do anymore.
Yeah, I'm very pro treat. I'll include them in my plan. That's what I do. I'm never forbidding them because it's kind of mean, and I don't think nobody listens to me when I say don't feed treat. I'll just include them in the plan. So I just talk to them about how to treat, and it's something I don't even ask anymore. Like I don't even ask, do you give treats? My question is always, what kind of treats do you give?
Yeah.
And then I'll usually volunteer what I give. I give them some tuna and some yogurt, right? And that's what I do. I'm not lying. I just want to make them understand that it's fine to give treats.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna tell me, because if I ask, do you give any treats, and then sometimes it's hard to control your face, right? And they tell you that even you're frowning or or you're like, you're overweight, you shouldn't be eating. That's not how life goes, right? And if they don't tell me what they're feeding, I cannot help them. I cannot help them make this experience as good as it possibly be. So I want them not to lie to me. So not making anyone feel guilty. And it's true. No one should feel guilty for wanting to treat their pet.
No.
It's hard out there. You won't get calories on treats, like dental treats, which I really like. They have their place in society.
Yeah.
But some of those big dental treats have like 200 calories.
Yeah.
Per treat, which is what a little Chihuahua needs per day, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's very confusing. There's a lot of treats out there. There's a lot of human foods that you want to give your dog. So the way I see it, I'm just going to include them in my weight prevention plan and even in my weight loss plans.
Yeah.
I'll just give amounts, right? So usually the positive of treats is that, it's lovely, it's fun. They're very useful for training. And if you want to do some behavioral modifications. Negatives of treating, they're adding calories. If we're adding too many treats and the animal stops eating their main diet, you won't be getting the nutrients that you need, right? It's like if I only have ice cream for dinner, like, I'm going to get my calories, but where's my protein, right?
Yeah.
Or where's my vitamin B12 or something like that. So what I always tell them is like, diets for dogs and cats, commercial products are usually made that when you meet your calorie needs, you're also going to meet your nutrient needs. Right? They're basically packing all of that up. Animals that are prone to overweight frequently already eat a little bit below that. So you're already getting in the riskier territory. But usually companies have like pretty wide margin of safety, right? Talking about good companies here that know what they're doing. So what I usually say is, okay, we'll do 90% of the calories for the complete and balanced diet. So we get all the nutrients that we need. 10% of the calories we can do for fun. Right? That fun might also include supplementation, right? And we're talking about OA here mostly. So fish oil 1 teaspoon of fish oil is already 40 calories.
Yeah.
So that's why I really like, if we're going to include fish oil in our OA patients, I like diets that already include it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't have to waste my, I call it,
Calories.
we call it the treat allowance. I'm not wasting my treat allowance on a supplement. I'm going to save my treat allowance for fun stuff.
Yeah.
But if you give anything that has calories,
Mm-hmm.
like a supplement, like an oil, that would also be included in that 10%.
Mm.
And then we talk to people about what does that mean, right? For example, if let's say that I have a dog that requires 1,000 calories per day, 900 for the diet, 100 for your fun, tops 100, right? So that might be a tablespoon of peanut butter, or it might be 300 grams of carrots.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, do I eat a salad or do I eat a burger? It's kind of the same. Of course, the value is different. Of course, if you give me ice cream, it's going to be much more valuable if you give me some cucumber.
Yeah.
Right? But for some dogs, they just want the treat, right?
Yeah.
So cucumber is magical. Cucumber is like 10 kilocalories per 100 grams. You probably spend more calories chewing than digesting it. Melon and watermelon are favorites too. They're also very low calorie, sweet. So a lot of dogs like them, very high moisture. So those are all excellent treats. I mean, the watermelon, you cannot really have it in your pocket.
A bit squishy.
It is a bit squishy, but you have your baby carrots, 4 kilocalories per baby carrot. And from time to time, I'm going to give my dog the peanut butter, right? Sometimes, today it's going to be fun. I'm going to give you the cheese or the sausage. It's going to be less, right? It's going to be a smaller amount. And in some dogs, if that's what they want, then, we stick with those, but we're just going to keep it controlled while still enjoyable. A lot of dogs are a bit dumb, so you can just give them their own kibble. But if it comes from your pocket, it's fun. So you can take.
That sounds like my dog. My dog's very much like that. She won't eat it out the bowl, but if I put it in a bag in my pocket and then feed her and get her to do tricks, that's amazing. She'll eat it no problem then.
I swear, I had a client that she said, "No, I dropped the food like, oops, it's an oops," and then they'll eat it. So it's like, it's purposefully letting it drop so the dog thinks it's something that they stole. I don't know. So I'm like, I wish I knew what they were thinking. But for me, the treat is like that. And there's some commercial treats that are pretty low calorie. Like there's some training treats that are only like 3 kilocalories per treat. So if you have especially if you have a puppy that you're training to do all of those things and you need a lot of treats to do that, then having those that are only like 2-3 kilocalories per treat can really help you stay within that 10% and not get all this trouble of extra calories or not getting the nutrients. But you need to call the companies and ask. Not all the companies are going to provide you with the calories. And I would say some treats be careful with the dental treats. And if you choose them appropriately to the size of the dog, but always check the calories because they can be really high. Some treats that like pig ears or that kind of like dried treats are also very high fat, high calorie. And also they tend to be raw. So that also has a different type of risk. But calorie wise, they can really add up. So, some people also give bone with the marrow. The marrow is basically fat. That's why it's delicious. So all of those things could be adding calories, but you're not looking at it as calories, right? Because you're giving that for the dog to chew on. Or, So, so I always, every time I ask for diet history, I said, imagine that you're going on vacation and I'm taking care of your pet. What should I be doing? And then I get all the information. Or, from morning to night, everything goes through his mouth. Because if I ask them, what are you feeding? Usually they tell me maybe one item. And most people give more items. They give treats, they give table scraps, they give maybe. I don't know.
No, definitely. It is about training the owner or training other people in your household as well as helping the dog.
It's not easy. Changing habits is never easy.
No.
So it's great that all the vet team is there to support them. In the UK you have great nurse teams and your weight clinics, and they offer a lot of support. Because you need to be there for them.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're only you on a clinic, it can be harder. So just make
Yeah.
sure everyone in your team is there to support your clients, because this is really hard. And I think we've all been there, so we can all empathize.
Yeah, and I think that's it's a good thing to reiterate to any owners out there that are watching this evening, that nurses are there to help you. A lot of the time, weight clinics are free of charge. So you can go in, weigh the dog. They can teach you how to body condition score, give you some leaflets to take home, so you can then start doing it at home, and they can help you do these calculations. Don't think, oh God, I don't know if I can calculate what my dog needs. Nurses can help you, so don't be bombarded from the vet that's like, oh, you need to lose weight, and then we'll see you in a month's time to reweigh, and you're like, oh God. Go into your vets and ask, because we're all there to help.
And you'll get your plan. You'll get which diet, how much. And then you get a scale. I personally don't like to weigh myself, so if I can weigh my pet separately on a scale, like if you can go to your nurse's clinics, it's an invaluable resource, invaluable. And everybody needs help. No one knows how to do this, and the label doesn't help you. So you know, you need help to figure out how much to feed and what to feed. So I'm very happy that at least in the UK and even in Ireland, like in Spain, it's a bit harder, but you have all this support from the vet support team.
And it is a team building thing. We interviewed Caroline Clark yesterday evening, and she's a behaviourist, and she was saying how she works as a team with the veterinary industry and also trainers, and it's the same for dietitians like yourself, nutritionists. We need to work as a team. They come to you for a consult, but then they come back to their own vets, and they need that support. They need that support at home to get the results or the plan that you want to stick to. We need to work as a team to do that.
For sure. I love behavior. I need to. I know nothing about it, but love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. What you were saying last night.
But it's so true. Like when you're a specialist, I'm not rarely doing follow-ups, so I need to give all the tools to the primary clinic so they can do it. And for weight management and for a lot of nutrition stuff, it's going to be the nurses who are going to be there for me and for everyone.
But yeah, we are there to help, so please come in and ask. And vets, always use your nurses, because we enjoy it. We enjoy it.
I was telling you before that I still don't have one, and I can't wait.
Yeah, exactly.
I have my own
Oh. So we've gone through like risk factors and things like that. If anyone's got any questions or anything that they want to put in, please throw them in. I've got a lady here, Lynn Hancock, who said it was difficult during lockdown when we couldn't go into the practice every month to weigh our pooches. It's so helpful to be able to weigh monthly again now. It's really nice to hear people that have been using, and it is a support network. It is helping each other and thinking that you're not by yourself, because when you walk around, there's hundreds of dogs that are overweight, and there's probably a lot of people in the same boat as you, but a lot of people feel embarrassed to talk about it. And it's a hard subject.
I don't anymore, honestly.
No.
The way we talk about weight is sometimes really gross. Like for humans especially, but also for pets. And like there's a lot of blame involved, there's a lot of judgment when it's a medical condition, right? That, you know, of course we humans might do things wrong sometimes, but it's always out of love and out of wanting to do the best for our pets. So and as I said, it's not easy. No one is making it easy for us for now. So I think definitely the pandemic was not great. Like it feels very isolated. And for me, it's like when I had dogs, I would go to the clinic to weigh them. I would not weigh them at home. But yeah, it's great to hear that the clinics are being helpful for people.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I don't know. I would say as a summary, like there's no magic bullet for weight prevention.
No.
The best thing we can do is make people aware of what their pet should look like, their dog should look like, and then give them tools to fix to prevent the weight gain. And that involves doing your nutritional assessment, teaching them how to do their nutritional assessment, talking to them openly about the different diet options. You know, and the vet team, everybody can help, you know, calculate amounts. Every time there's a diet change, make sure to recalculate your dosage. That's why the repeated assessments are so important, right? The dog's going to become an adult, going to become senior, or they're going to have new diseases, or they're going to change the diet. All of that will require recalculating. I can tell you how many times I get a dog that becomes overweight because they placed him on a urinary diet and we didn't recalculate the grams, right, or stuff like that. So just do your nutrition assessments, customize your prevention strategies to the pet that you have in front of you, right? If I have a potato, my prevention strategy is going to be very different than if I have a very active dog, or if it's intact or neutered, or depending on the breed, and also depending on your owners. Do they live in an apartment? Do they have a backyard? Do they have the time to walk them? Some people are busy, and you might want them to do all of this exercise, but that's not going to happen, right? So you're going to have to focus more on the diet part of things. So be flexible about that. But I guess those are my tips.
Really, I think
preventing.
Really made a massive impact on the way I feel is putting a realistic expectation to what's there. So some dogs that you're not going to be able to get to lose the weight. It's just not going to happen. One, if they've got a medical condition, or two, if the human factor.
Sometimes the humans are not ready, and that's fine. Like everybody has things going on. Like, I don't know, I wake every morning thinking, are we gonna get nuclear Armageddon? It's just stressful. Everybody is dealing with a lot of stuff right now, and this is another thing. So just be kind to yourself and be kind to your clients, because life is hard. Life is really hard.
Definitely.
But it's one of the things that I like to focus on prevention so much, because it's much easier. It's just gonna be much easier than dealing with it, because sometimes you won't be able to deal with it once they become overweight, as you said. It's not always possible.
So for any vets and nurses listening this evening, the WSAVA website, the nutrition part, has that got all the charts on that you've been speaking about?
Yeah, we have body condition score, muscle condition. There's a diet history form as well. If you don't have one, you can use that, or use it to make your own. I sometimes tell people that's not on the website, but I'll ask people to do a food diary. But that would be a little bit like a diet history, like what are they feeling every day. There's also some tools about how to choose a pet food. We do have some questions that you can ask the pet food manufacturers to vet them, because this is a very self-regulated industry. We do have also some FAQs and myths that talk about some of the common myths about nutrition. And we also have some charts on energy requirements. If you don't want to do the formula, you can just download those as well. So all of that is free of charge, and it's WASAVA labeled, so it's not labeled by a private company, which, I mean, pet food companies have great material, but for some people, they rather not see a brand. So WASAVA is there for you. And I'm still part of the committee in WASAVA. I don't know how much longer, but if people have ideas of tools that you would guys like to see that develop, just let us know. Hit me up. We're always looking for ways to make life easier for everyone if we can.
That's really good. That's really good. Really great. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I think you've given some great information out to everyone that's watching. I've definitely learnt some stuff myself. So I hope you've all enjoyed it this evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Evie. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
See you later, everyone. We will have. I think we've got another Facebook Live next Tuesday. So we will see you all then. Bye.
Bye.